Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Fuel the Fight podcast. Lieutenant Colonel Nick Behringer. Get a repeat guest today, the one, the only Mr. Jim Miller, UFC fighter, holds the records for most fights in the UFC, a bunch of other records. Outstanding cook, outstanding hunter, pretty darn good shooter if you follow his Instagram as well. I love the rifle to pistol transitions. You got to watch them.
Thank you.
Very impressive. But Jim, hey, thanks for so much for coming on today, and welcome to the show.
No problem, Nick. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah. One of the big things I wanted to have you on to talk about is I feel like it needs to be talked about more. You're about to approach or go into your 40th
Mm,
fight, which is the record.
yeah.
I mean, what does that mean to you?
It means that I'm stubborn. Like at this point, I there's definitely been a lot of luck involved, in my career and my ability to, sustain fighting at. I got a visitor here, the dog. I can't see if you guys can see his nose, but um,
I
yeah,
don't, I can't see you actually. I don't know
you
if you
can't
know
see
that.
me.
Yeah,
Oh
I
no.
don't know if you have your camera on. I thought that was intentional.
No, no, no. I should have it on. I
Yeah.
could see me. Anyway,
Okay.
uh, yeah, like there's definitely been a lot of luck involved, but it's also been by design as well. Like, um, it- I I try to and have always tried to train smart and kind of map out my weeks of training to where I'm not just doing hard stuff just to do hard stuff. And I feel like as a young athlete, particularly in MMA, where it's a sport that's not like you're kind of your own boss. I see it all the time where these younger fighters they train pretty uh, unintelligently, and they get banged up and they have to pull out of fights and don't get the opportunities that they should get because they weren't prepared or they ended up overtraining or banging themselves up. So yeah, like coming up on 40, I didn't expect this to happen. um I had planned on being out of MMA at 34 years old. So we're a few years beyond that, but like yeah, it just kind of everything kind of came together and I've been able to stick around.
Yeah, and I mean it is such an impressive feat, and I got into a heated debate with somebody I work with recently because I was talking about your upcoming fight and it's like, man, 40 and all, and they're like, yeah, but compared to the Tour de France or something, they were giving me that, and so I do think a misconception. This person obviously wasn't like a serious MMA fan,
Mm,
but I said the misconception is it's just that time in the octagon.
mm,
Right? Like I don't think people, again, if unless they really follow the sport, appreciate how many thousands of hours it takes for you to get
mm.
to that walk. And
Yeah.
and that's what, that's what makes this 40 is so impressive, is all those thousands of training hours, all those fist fights you had to
Hmm.
go through to make those 40 walks and to stay healthy, and for the most part to not pull out of fights and
Yeah.
serious injuries, etc. Like that feat. I was trying to think of it. I was racking my brain, trying to think of another sport that would compare to that, but I really can't. I can't think of any other endurance event that can match that.
Mm.
Right?
It,
It's
it's
really one of a kind.
yeah, it's a unique thing, right? Because it is. It's the time spent like under the gun because we're fighting. Like
Yeah.
I get into fights every week at the gym, multiple times a week, and to be able to make it through those camps, um, when you are like the goal is to be pushing yourself and to be getting into better shape and trying to you know trying to peak. I don't like the idea of peaking, but like just trying to improve every day, every week leading up to a fight. um so you're constantly pushing the limit, and uh yeah, to make it through those, you know uh week after week and year after year, and to be lucky enough to not, sustain an injury a few weeks out. I mean, I've had a couple of close calls. I've had some illnesses that either I didn't know about, or that I was able to kind of suck it up and get through the fight. But to get through all those, it's there's really nothing to compare it to. Like, you know, eh, some people have said like Cal Ripken, but it's like, man, like they get to play baseball. Like it's hard, like I get it. It's difficult. There's, thousands of games and stuff like that, but it's like they don't practice like we practice. Their practice is not this grinding thing that's putting them at risk and making them, vulnerable to injuries and illnesses, where ours kind of is by design, unfortunately. But it kind of has to be like you kind of have to like stuff yourself into the crucible and just like, you're trying to reshape yourself leading up to a fight. And that takes, it takes effort, and it's taxing, and it's dangerous. And yeah, it's like I said, I didn't plan on being here coming into, a couple weeks out from my 40th fight, but um I think it's been a little bit of on the side of luck, and a little bit trying to train smart and have a good group of trainers and coaches behind me.
No, that's awesome. And y- part of it to, you talk about shaping yourself and trying to stay healthy is with your nutrition. And I'm a dietitian, so we got to talk about nutrition. um how much is that played? Now, I know you've talked on other podcasts, and we talked a little bit about it. Is, your nutrition changed after Lyme disease,
Hmm.
and how you've adjusted, but how has your nutrition, can you talk a little bit more about that? Is like, how has it changed kind of, for your longevity? And then what have, differences do you notice, and kind of how Jim eats now
Hmm.
versus earlier on in your career?
Um, you know, uh, I wasn't a very good cook early in my career. I come from a family of good cooks, and I still consider myself the worst. But yeah, like it was. I, I didn't eat like garbage, early in my career, but it definitely wasn't as polished up as it is now. It's like I crave like the silly things, broccoli, right? Like asparagus. Like I can't. The people that go on these like the carnivore diets and they avoid, that stuff, broccoli and asparagus and Brussels sprouts, and it's like, man, like I love that stuff now. It's yeah, it's just it's gotten a lot cleaner. Like there was definitely a time where, I'd have the convenience pack of like lean pockets in the freezer, and it's like, hey, I don't know what to eat right now. It's not dinner time. It's after lunchtime, and just something to eat. Where it's like now it's a lot easier for me to just, I try to make good dinners from Whole Foods. Um, we eat a lot of like just chicken, or like we eat a lot of flank steak, honestly, because it's I'm feeding an army myself with 4 kids, and my wife and I, and um I actually prefer like a little bit chewier steak. So we go that route, and yeah, like leftovers, it's usually just I'll eat what is left over from dinner the previous night for like a lunch or something like that.
Is that now for your meat? Now, I know you have a garden. Are you growing most of these vegetables? And then the same with the meat. Do you source that locally, or do you go, to the grocery store and get
um
it?
I I have always had this obsession with I want to provide as much of our food as possible. This year I've been able to build. We moved into a new place right at the beginning of the pandemic, and so my garden sucked the first year. It was okay last year, and we're gonna have a decent amount of stuff coming out of it this year. Um, but it's not even near like with a family of 6 being able to provide all of it for us. So we do get a lot from, the grocery store, and I tried to shop locally at like the farmers markets, and some of the farms down the road from us. I'm a big proponent of eating local. Um, so whenever I can, I try to get there. Um, and then like meat wise, yeah, like I prefer I prefer to hunt stuff, like, I mean, we've got farm animals, they're kind of pets. We got two pigs that are kind of pet pigs. We've got a couple
No
goats.
bacon on the menu at the Miller
Yeah,
household
yeah,
anytime soon.
I mean, unless this market keeps sliding down, like, when bacon's $25 a pound, we might have to change our rules on that. But uh, it, I've always wanted to like hunt like all of our meat. Get a large animal like a moose or an elk, and then throw in a couple deer and stuff like that, and pheasants and stuff. And I just it's like, I mean, I grew up, my parents were not, we weren't rolling the Benjamins, they made things work with, my mom being a nurse, and my dad, being a framer, residential framer, building houses. And um, like my dad hunted, and when we were kids, it was hunting seasons were a lot shorter, opportunities were a lot less, so we didn't really get to go out as kids. And then once my brothers and I were in our teens and my oldest brother could drive, then that's when we got our hunting licenses. So we dove into it because both my mom and my dad, they came from families that did hunt a lot. So I had always wanted to do that, and try to help provide as much as I could. And if I can, I want to provide as much as we can. It's not only just because I know that it's like clean, right? Like, I mean, granted, you don't know anything about the animal, but uh, I don't have to till the ground and spray to get some venison, right? That deer is eating browse, throughout the forest, stuff like that, and grazing, sometimes off my hostas and and other plants and stuff. But it's good quality meat. But there's a connection. There's a connection to it that I have, that when I prepare it, when I prepared, you know, uh, the bear and the venison for you guys when we had that trip. There, it's more satisfying to me to share that with the people that I care about than it is to go and buy a wagyu, uh, cowboy cut, steak or something like that. I would rather give you guys, you know, little bare back straps that we're picking the hairs off of it as I'm preparing it, getting it ready to put on the grill, than some fancy, couple $100 piece of meat. Just because I put the work in and I put the effort in, and yeah, there's just something extra that goes into it. So anytime I can uh, have a hand in the production and the harvesting of the food, whether that's the garden or wild game, I'm all 100% for it.
Yeah, and so and that's one of the things I find so fascinating about you is this passion you have for cooking. It's like you're a chef, the fighter chef, if you will. And you have the fighter's cookbook,
Hmm.
which should be what, shipping soon, or already
Uh,
shipping, or
yeah, I think so. It's already shipping. If if you'd ordered it off of the website, it's been a little bit delayed. But Amazon's, of course, they're shipping right now because they get a bigger cut of it. But but that's for a different podcast. We can give them some crap. But yeah, the cookbook's coming out, and yeah, so the hardcovers are coming out this week. So it's pretty exciting.
well, it's exciting. And here's another fact about you that I just don't think gets talked about enough, or I never really, I stumbled across it, and I think I mentioned to you is that you were, kind of that connection to food. You were Anthony Bourdain's favorite fighter, and you guys
Yeah.
talked about doing a brewing show. Is that correct, or a beer? There was, you actually communicated with him a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So I very briefly
Hmm.
met Anthony at UFC 155, and then again I think it was the following year at I think it was 172 or something like that. He was a big UFC fan. He was always there, and I was always a fan of his, and it was cool. He trained at Henzo Gracie's, and we knew a bunch of the same people, and um, so I was able to reach out to him. I was trying to shop uh, a TV show, and decided to reach out and ask him some questions, and he was uh, super awesome, and gave me his time to ask him those questions, and answered them for me, and yeah, it's one of those, it sucks what everything that ended up happening,
Right,
and
right, of course.
but yeah, like he was a great guy.
Yeah, yeah. And then because I mean, do you still brew as much as you used to, or because that was kind of was that your were you into brewing before you were into cooking, or did those things kind of happen together?
They kind of happen together, and I definitely don't brew as much as I used to because my nutritionist doesn't let me drink so much beer. Uh, uh,
Yeah, you got to get rid of that guy.
um, yeah. We at my last house, I had a pretty good setup. Everything worked and flowed really, really well, and like it was one of those things. I dipped my toe into it um, when I was in my early 20s. So I was like learning to cook and then learning to brew, and brewing is it's essentially the same thing. You're developing recipes and a product, and it's not as the returns aren't as quick, so that makes it a little extra challenging, which is something that I enjoy. And again, it's the same thing. It's the sharing of it. Like, um, it's not so much that I can, have my own keg of beer and get banged up every night. Like that's never what I was doing with the homebrew. It was more so like I want to brew a couple gallons of beer to bring to a party or to to share with everybody because it's kind of it's cool. It's something cool to do, and like I kind of have a little bit of knack for it. I think I brew some decent beer. Um, so yeah, just getting to share it was the best part. But where I am now, that the house, I just haven't figured out like the flow and the layout of the process because uh, just getting my brew stand in a good place where I could do it, and then where am I going to ferment and like I said, the last place I had it was kind of set up. It was pretty good. It wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good for it. So um, I need to because I invested a decent amount in some equipment, and have the ability to brew like 20 gallon batches. So yeah, I'm working on it. Hopefully the next group gathering we have, I'll be able to bring some beer down.
Nice, nice. That look forward to that. Well, and I mean, you can do the beer after the fight, right after the
Hmm.
40th.
There you go.
Uh, you could have that in. I want to talk a little bit about supplements.
Hmm.
What supplements do you take and why?
Um, I I'm a very like I take a very basic set of supplements. I I've had B vitamin deficiencies type stuff like brittle nails and sensitive nerves from when I was on the doxycycline for Lyme disease.
Mm.
So I make sure that I take B vitamins, B vitamin complex, vitamin C, vitamin D, omega threes, protein, creatine, um, melatonin, and magnesium, and like those are like the big ones. And it's not like I've never been like a into all the other fancy stuff, all the stuff that makes all these companies money, the BCAAs and the pre-workouts and stuff like that. Like I'd rather just have a cup of coffee and yeah, like you're getting me into that collagen thing. I'm working on that. Um, the tough part for me is like I can't stand having a lot of stuff in my stomach when I work out. Um, I get burpy, and while I'm hitting pads or rolling, it's never comfortable, and I never seem to uh, perform as well if I've got some food still in my stomach, or a bunch of supplements in my stomach. So I try to, it's technically not fasted, but like I try to be have light a load as possible in my stomach before working out.
No, and I mean, and that's reality. It's
Mm.
funny. I teach nutrition students as part of my job, and I talk to them. I'm like, there is this like, perfect textbook answer, and then there's the reality of that athlete. They might have a
Mm.
nervous stomach. They might not be able
Yeah.
to, stomach anything. So no, that's good because the attempt was to get in, gelatin,
Hmm.
based off of some work by Dr. Keith Barr, showing that when you have some gelatin before you do some exercise, it helps get that collagen to where it needs to go to those joints and might
Hmm.
be beneficial. But if it makes the athlete sick when they're training, the profession that they need to do, then clearly,
It,
the juice isn't worth the
if
squeeze.
if the athlete's a diva, that's the case here. So
No, I would never call you a diva. Um, no, that's great. So sleep. I did want to touch back on
Mhm.
that. You had said, um, we in the last podcast that's been really kind of
Mhm.
a thing for you in terms of now you're sleeping. I think before what you were sleeping 6 hours on
Yeah.
average,
Yep.
and now 8. Any other things you've learned from that, or advice you would give young athletes in terms of sleep?
I honestly, I am I am like full blown into the 8 hours of sleep thing. Like I was always a 5 to 6 hours a night kind of person for years, through my UFC career. And it was what 2 years ago or so, a year and a half ago,
Yeah.
that we really started tracking it, and trying to get to 8 hours. And like I do have that point, for whatever reason, timing wise, if I get like 6.5 to 7.5, I feel a little sluggish in the morning. But if I hit 8, I'm feeling 8 is great. you know, uh, and yeah, like I've dealt with a lot of um like shoulder and neck issues through the years, just injuries and stuff like that, and I get a lot of trigger points. And it was kind of it was super predictable. Like I'd get into training camp, something would happen. Either I'd jam my neck up shooting on somebody or something like that, or maybe even just turn my head the wrong way, um, and kind of tweak something, and then I would have to go get work done. I'd have to go get somebody to work on my back and my neck. And I really have found that, like, since I've been sleeping 8 hours, if I if my neck starts to get tight and then I get a good night's sleep, it mostly goes away. And it never did that. Like it really never did that. And it would always lead to, like, okay, I got a miserable couple of days, and then I just gotta, make the effort, find the time to get down to somebody, because I live up in the boonies. So it's always an hour drive for me to go to find somebody that can that can work on me, or that I want to work on me. So yeah, like the that's one of the biggest things that I've noticed from the sleep. It's not even so much like the energy wise, it's the recovery. And of things like that, like muscles being tight and knotted up, and uh yeah, causing like impingements and stuff like that. Like it hasn't been happening since I've really been focusing on getting those 8 hours.
Nice. You mentioned about, massage and stuff. How often do you get like body work, or, like, and what do you have done? Do you do any acupuncture, or, what's kind of your routine for recovery?
I respond to a heavy touch, unfortunately. Like I'm not the burning incense and even like acupuncture. Like it doesn't do anything for me. I've never noticed a difference. I've My wife swears by it. I it just it doesn't for the things that I have going on, it just doesn't do anything. I need somebody to to get in there with a heavy hand, or I've had a bunch of like Graston done the scraping, which is horrible. I don't enjoy it at all, but it works on me. So yeah, it's right now, like I said, I haven't needed it. Um, you know, so like it's something that if I had somebody closer that I like to work with, that I would probably do it more. But yeah, I don't really do it all that regularly anymore.
What about cold plunge? Do you do cold plunge at all? Compression
The
therapy
cold
or anything? Yeah.
I've had periods where I've done a decent amount of cold plunge. At the moment, I've actually been craving it. I haven't been doing it, and it's like, well, we need to fill the tub again and get back in there, because it does it helps with the bruising and um, you know I got convinced to try that cryo for a little bit, but I felt it was kind of that was kind of like acupuncture for me. It really didn't do anything. But the cold plunge definitely I felt a little bit more in the reduction of inflammation and then you get that energy burst too.
And then, so how long would you do? I mean, so do you have do you keep a certain temperature, or you just throw some ice in a bath, jump in for, set the timer, and if so, how long are you setting that timer for?
I was trying to do the what is it, low 50s, I think it was, what had been recommended, aside from like the Wim Hof type stuff where it's like super super cold. Yeah, like low 50s. I was trying to get like 20 minutes. There were days that I could, and there were days that I could not get it. And there were times where the water was colder, and and where it was definitely miserable. But yeah, like I kind of subscribe to the that 20-minute period just to really like soak it in. I have been seeing a lot of people doing like getting it near 32, 33 degrees and going in there for a couple minutes. And there's that crazy side of my brain that's like, hey, you need to do that too, Jim. So we'll see. I was thinking I've got the one big chest freezer that I use for brewing beer, and it's like, maybe I'll just fill that up with some water and put the temperature regulator in there, and it'll keep it at whatever temp I want, and we'll hop in there. But like I said, I actually was just craving it the other day. I was like, you know what? I need to hop in a cold tub.
Nice. And then compression garments, do you do compression at all, or?
No, no, I don't. Um, yeah, I just, I'm a like when it comes to like all the recovery stuff, I truly believe in like the active recovery and just kind of moving things. So fortunately, my daily life, I'm constantly doing stuff. On the farm with the kids, it doesn't really matter. So I'm always moving. So and that's really always my goal. Like if I'm a little banged up, sometimes there are those injuries that I do want to protect, but like uh if it's muscles and stuff like that, and there's soreness, I really believe in just getting them moving so that it can kind of pump it out. And obviously not doing something that's super intense, but not being afraid of a little bit of uh, discomfort in that movement, because it helps the body do what it needs to do and kind of flush all that stuff out.
That's fair. No, I agree with you 100% there. So yeah, you talked about your daily life in
Mm-hmm.
terms of being able, you're pretty active. Could you walk us through like what? Because I'm curious about this. It's like, so what is the life of a professional fighter, at least or Jim Miller? Like,
uh,
what does that look like from when you get up to when you go to bed?
the life of Jim Miller is not the life of the typical fighter.
Fair.
uh, yeah, like I said, we got some animals, we got a piece of property, so and that's the thing. Everybody wanted to get, especially during the pandemic, everybody wanted to get chickens and all these other. It's a chore. It's a daily chore. So how it worked in my house is that for a few times, like over the course of 2 years, if I left the house for anything, going to a fight, going to corner one of my fighters, going on a media trip or going on a hunting trip or something like that, my wife would buy new animals, whether it was chickens, ducks, goats, uh, the pigs. I didn't leave for that. I actually had to help her get the pigs. But Yeah, that's how it was. Like the first chickens we had, I left to corner one of my guys, and I come back and there's like 8 birds in my office getting chicken dust everywhere. Um, so yeah, so I try to get my 8 hours of sleep. It's it's not always easy. I don't always fall asleep as quickly as I'd like to, and I'm also the kind of person that, like, if the sun is out, I don't want to be on the computer. I don't want to be in front of a screen. I want to be doing stuff that I need the sunlight to do. Uh, so I always put that type of computer work stuff off until the night, um, which is I know is not good. Dealing with screen time and stuff like that, closer to bedtime. But that's just always when I would get it done. Um, so it's a little bit harder for me sometimes to get to bed as quickly as possible. But if the kids are going to school, I try to get up and help my wife get them ready for school. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm able to sleep through it, and then it's usually back to bed after that for a quick nap, get an extra hour in. Um, but yeah, get up, get the animals out, get them fed, and training schedule. It totally varies. Um, I hit pads 2 or 3 times a week. I do. I've got a couple grappling sessions a couple times a week. Grappling with strikes and drilling sessions, and so it's probably throughout the week roughly 14 hours, I would say, of like active, like technical time. And then we mix in some bike rides and some lifts and stuff like that. Um, and it's kind of riding the wave, right? So it I if I have those hard days of uh training, like Wednesday is my hard grappling day. And I've found out that it's mostly because it's psychological, because when I take strikes and I add them to grappling, then my goal is to win and not just like play. So then it just takes more energy because I'm trying to win all the positions and not give my training partners opportunities to sweep me or pass or anything like that. So I always find that it's a hard workout, and it's also one of my later workouts, starting at like 1:30, because I'm typically a morning person. Um, so yeah, like if it's a hard grappling day, I'll tone down, the conditioning work or the lifting or something like that. And um, but yeah, like I'm spoiled, and that's kind of the issue. That's definitely the issue when it comes to like adapting to the post MMA lifestyle, is that like I I'm 38 years old, and I've been able to kind of make my own schedule for pretty much my entire adult life. So uh it's yeah, I'm definitely spoiled spoiled with that. So I get my workouts in the mornings, and I do work on the farm, and I also need to tinker, I need to build, I need to like experiment. Like I feel better if I'm engaging my brain in something that like I kind of want to do. And sometimes I get crap about that from coaches and the people around me, that maybe I shouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing, a couple weeks out from my 40th fight. But you got to be you. You got to keep the morale high, and I firmly believe in that. So like I try to be myself and get my training in, and then have the time to do the things I enjoy and spend time with my family. And making dinner is one of those big things too. Like I spend a decent amount of time every day, uh, making dinner. Um, so w- whatever it is, whatever I end up making, it's like I said, it's a majority of it's from coming from Whole Foods. We're not really, um, like there are no lean pockets in the house anymore, and there haven't been for a long time. But yeah, like there's no chicken nuggets, there's no like none of that stuff. So um, I try to take piece of protein, however I'm making it. We make that and add in a little bit of carbs and some roughage and some vegetables and yeah, it's yeah, the cooking and food part, it adds up to and like a decent part of my evenings.
Well, and that's time well spent. And I
Yeah.
mean, and to be fair, when I'm listening to kind of your lifestyle, that's probably part of your secret to your longevity. I don't hear a lot of distractions or negative distractions in the
Mm.
sense of things that would take away, from your fighting, besides, fishing at midnight. But but doing all those things during the day, yeah, and then the kids and all like that, that really helps you, stay grounded. How is it? I would be curious. I've never seen you as like Jim Miller, the coach. So,
Mm.
you have these young fighters you
Yep.
corner. How does that experience and how do you talk to them about what you've learned? How do you instill that in them?
I I learned like a long time ago that it's like this sport is very it's personal, right? You have to fight to your strengths and optimize your potential, and everybody's different. um so when I'm coaching guys, I'm not telling them to be me. I'm not telling them to fight like me. I'm not telling them to do the moves that I do. um like the biggest things that I try to impart on them are like, listen, I'm a firm believer in quality over quantity when it comes to training. um get in good work with a specific goal, and not just go in and like do hard stuff because it's hard, and well, training was harder than a fight will be because I had three guys, uh jumping in on me in a bull in the ring type scenario, throwing strikes at my head. um so I try to kind of guide them more so in like the mindset of it, like, hey, like if somebody offers you a fight in a week, and you're asking me if you should take it, then you probably shouldn't take it. Like, because I never asked anybody. When I got those opportunities, I felt good. So, well, yeah, I'm gonna fight. And I have had one or two instances over the years where I've had to turn those things down. And it's like, as soon as I felt that little bit of doubt, okay, yeah, we don't need to do it. This is a abbreviated timeline. I'm gonna. Oh, you want me to fight in Singapore in 14 days? No, like I'm not doing it. Um, so yeah, so I just try to kind of guide them on the mental aspects of it, like you know, um, where you control what you control, right? Like you can control your effort, you can control your attitude. Like I can't tell you how hard you're going. On a scale of 1 to 100, I don't know how hard you're pushing yourself. Only you know that. And only you are going to have to deal with that if you let up, and if you aren't, going as hard as you can, and aren't as focused as you can be, because you're thinking about, uh your girlfriend dumped you, or some drama in your life. um so yeah, there are different types of coaches and different types of uh like trainers, and I know that I'm not the encyclopedia of moves. Um, so I don't try to be that with my guys. Uh, I've got the moves that I'm good at, and I will show them how I became good at them and what I do. Like on my guillotine choke, how I'm attacking my guillotine choke, how I lock up my armbar, and actually, s- you know, instead of just try to hyperextend somebody's arm, I'm trying to pull their arm off their body. So like recruitment wise, I'm recruiting all the muscles in my, posterior chain, trying to stand up with their arm as opposed to just driving my hips in. Um, and sometimes it goes over their heads,
Hmm.
even when I do the parlor tricks of, like, oh, hold your arm out, I'm going to push it down. Now, no, I think there's a laser coming out of your arm, and you try to push it down, it doesn't go down. It's like, well, because you're using all the more muscles. Um, but yeah, I help them where I can without trying to like make them me. Essentially, it was a really long way of saying that, but
No, I mean, and I'm sure I mean, that's a challenge. I mean, because yeah,
yeah.
you know what works for you, so it would a natural inclination would be, hey, my way's the right
Mhm.
way, but versus taking a step back. I mean, do you see yourself? Is this something post career? Do you see yourself staying in the MMA world and coaching more, or is this kind of for now?
I definitely, it's going to be part of my life. But like the the coaching world it's a little bit, it's different, right? I just don't necessarily see myself as like a specific coach for somebody. Um, I feel like I can help a a broader stroke of people, um, if I use the things that I've learned, and I use my platform, and I can send it out more than the focused handful of guys, preparing them. Um, just one, because I have my family, my kids, and I want to spend as much time as I can with them. Um, and do the things that we enjoy, and making the commitment to being like somebody's coach is, it's a legitimate commitment. And I'm not sure if I want to do that, because that would pull me away from doing the things that I like to do with my kids and my wife. So um but MMA is, it's part of who I am, and it's that's never going away.
So what would what might be a we see post UFC
Mhm.
Jim doing what where do you see yourself at?
I'm working on you know uh I guess I don't even know how you would, what the proper way to call it would be, but like, if it's probably not brand, but um like a educational platform, basically, and helping, just teaching people about jujitsu and MMA, and everything, wrestling and all that stuff, as well. But then also the strength and conditioning side of it as well, because I'm a huge believer in it, honestly. As somebody who basically had their athleticism stolen from them by a tick bite, um, you know, uh, I fully understand how important it is as an athlete. Not even in the terms of just everyday person, but like as an MMA fighter. Um, Athleticism is just as important as technical ability, and you can make up for deficiencies in either one with advancements in either one. Um, so every MMA athlete should be putting in just as much time to be a better athlete, and to have their body be as optimal as possible through diet and exercise. as they should, their technical abilities. But like everything that we've seen in the last couple of years with how how health and fitness can make your life better and help you overcome some of these things. Because honestly, like Lyme disease is a pain in the ass, and I think one of the biggest things and benefits that I've had and privileges, basically, like a point of coming from a point of privilege, is that I was required to work out through my battle with Lyme disease. Like it was hard. Early 2016 was extremely difficult to train like I was supposed to train for a fight. But the fact that I was still fighting through it when I was taking medication, when I was changing my diet, I believe is one of the biggest things that helped me overcome it, because your body needs to be as fine-tuned as possible to beat some of these things. And like Lyme disease, the virus, or the bacteria rather, basically makes your body want to be sedentary, makes it like hard to work out, hard to do things, just wants you to sit on the couch and just deal with it, you know. So like the more exercise that you can do, the more oxygen that your blood can carry, the better you're going to fight it, the easier time you're going to have overcoming it. And honestly, I like fitness kind of it. I mean, I was already an athlete before I got bit, but fitness, saved me in that, and as did diet. Um, so like I just want to try to share that mentality to people, like, hey, like you got one body, let's make the most of it. uh and we know that being strong and conditioning, being conditioned, it's going to help you in any of life's battles. Nobody ever wished to be weaker. Nobody, like
Yeah, yeah.
nobody was like, you know what, I wish I couldn't, I wish I couldn't, move that thing. I wish I couldn't, uh, you know, uh, get my kid out of that car. I wish I couldn't swim more. I wish I couldn't, like, like it's the we want to be able to do as much as we can. And like, that's one of, like, I'm getting a little flustered because I get a little intense when I think about some of this stuff, because it's exactly it. Like I don't, I'm an okay swimmer. I'm an all right swimmer. Am I good enough to save one of my kids? I don't know. And that pisses me off. And it makes me want to spend more time in the pool and become a better swimmer, you know? And if I can help motivate people to ask more out of their body and get more out of their body, uh, then I feel like I'd be giving back.
No, Jim, I love that because I'm passionate about fitness and nutrition, just like you are. So I'm excited to see, what's kind of to come. And what's funny is that statement you made about swimming. I was thinking, I was like, that captures kind of your mentality, and I think what makes you successful. And hopefully people picked up on that listening to this. But for those young soldiers who maybe who haven't, is, Jim's talking about something he's not good at, like swimming, and rather than avoid it, it
Mm.
just makes him mad, and he wants to do it. He
Yeah.
wants to work it more. Whereas, I mean, you look at the average, individual out there, it's the opposite, right?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
oh, I'm not good at this. Well, I don't want to do it. Let me go do something else. Let me avoid that. And
Yeah.
so I think that's probably that mentality has made you so successful. Is everything you encounter that you're not good at, your immediate thought is, let me work harder so I can close that gap. So no,
That
I appreciate that.
that's actually something I was just talking to my Muay Thai coach today. Like, one of the things on coaching, we were talking about one of the guys that I fought. had reached out to him, was asking him a bunch of questions about the fight and stuff like that. Mentality wise, I don't know if he got over it, like, because I beat this guy. But like I looked at it as a coaching issue, in that it's like, if he feels like, oh, they game planned perfectly for me and it didn't work, like, you can't expect a fighter to be the same person in every fight. Like, we're professional athletes. We're always making gains, and a fight happens so quickly and it's so on the fly that you just have to be prepared to fight. And like, yes, there might be little things that you can pick up on somebody, but if the goal should always be to fight at your best, and to hopefully take advantage of their weaknesses. But like, my coaches should not be able to coach somebody to victory against me. Like, if my coaching staff sat in somebody else's corner and they're able to say, hey, do this, do this, do this, and you'll beat Jim, then they're not that good at coaches, because then they're allowing me to train through these holes in my game and we're not focusing on them. Their goal should be to make those holes go away, make those weaknesses go away. And if they're that glaring, then that is totally a coaching issue. Like, yeah. So that's exactly my approach. I see these holes in me, and it's like, man, I don't like it. Like, I don't want to have a weakness here. I don't want to have a weakness here. I want to make everything a strength. And I know it's impossible, but yeah, like to see a glaring hole, and to not address it, I think is like, that, personality wise, that's not going to happen for me.
No, yeah, and again, that's why you're great. That's why you're able to do the things you do. And again, I hope folks listening to this understands that. And if they don't have that mentality, they start embracing that mentality. Maybe pick out one or two things that you've been avoiding, and go and try to do those things. Jim, we're coming up on an hour. I know you're busy getting ready. So next fight, we're looking UFC 276. Going to make the 40th walk. Any last kind of closing thoughts, and then where again can people find you on social media?
Yeah, this will be the 40th UFC fight. Hopefully, take the record for most wins in UFC history. I'm tied with Donald Cerrone right at the moment, and his fight fell through this last weekend. So hopefully I'll pop my head up to the peak on that one. And yeah, it's been a heck of a road, and I can't wait. I'm excited. I still love it. And the goal is out there to make it to UFC 300, and have that be my farewell fight. I think that would be pretty amazing. It's another 2 years away. I think with the right training attitude, and and diet, and some luck on my side, we're gonna make that. But yeah, I'm feeling good and ready to go. And yeah, I'm basically only active on Instagram. I try to, my stuff gets shared over to Facebook. I stay off of Twitter for the most part, because it's like a Mad Max world over there, in my opinion. Uh, but yeah, Jim Miller _155 on Instagram. We briefly mentioned I've got a cookbook that is shipping now. The Fighter's Cookbook. Some great wild game recipes, and some that are in there that aren't. And even all the wild game recipes, it's all, if you're a beef, pork, chicken person, then every recipe in there can be swapped out. That's essentially where the recipes came from. I just took things that I liked eating and added venison and black bear and wild turkey and stuff like that. That's at thefighterscookbook.com. It's also available on Amazon. They're shipping super quickly. So It's all over there. And like I was just thinking uh, about it. Like when I was making the book, I kind of gave my guys, my marketing guys, like a little pushback. I was like, hey, why are we going to focus on wild game? Like this seems a little bit too nichey. Um, and then I see the way that food prices are going, and then I was like, you know what? Maybe we should have put a lot more squirrel and bunny rabbit in there. Maybe like how to identify if roadkill safety. Like, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's the book also tells the story of how food and a healthy diet and healthy living helped me get over Lyme disease and how it also brings my family together. So it's not just some recipes; it's also a very uh, big part of my life and part of my story.
No, hey Jim, thanks for that. And I'm waiting. I guess I was one of the people who ordered off the original. So
Hmm.
but I can't wait. I've got my Traeger cleaned off, and
There you go.
I'm ready to try some of those recipes. I don't know if I'll be able to recreate them as well as you do, but I'll give it the old junior college try.
No, you got
That's for
it.
sure. Well, hey Jim, thanks so much again for coming on the show. Really appreciate having you. And uh, of course, best of luck with UFC 276 coming up on July 2nd. I believe Jim makes his 40th walk. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be epic. So wherever you are, mark your calendar, put that on it, and that's where you should be in front of your TV screen watching Jim fight.